Bill, that song is nice and all, but it has nothing to do with the girl in the fireplace.
It doesn't?
You didn't watch the episode again, did you?
If you have any plans about seeing tomorrow, there's one thing you never ever put in a trap.
And what would that be, sir?
Me.
Alright.
Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and the French, to the 59th production of an Unearthly podcast. I am the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell.
Hello.
Randy Ronson McCulloch.
Always a pleasure.
Aaron Romeo Moon Burke.
Hello.
And the one called Tim.
Yo!
You can find us at Twitch/MadMat2185, Twitter/UnearthlyPod, Facebook/UnearthlyPodcast, and YouTube/Man in Black Reviews. Today's episode is the second entry to The Mind of Moffat, featuring the girl in the fireplace.
Or a third entry if you include Curse of Fatal Death.
True. In Doctor Who at the Awards, we have two pieces of news. The first piece is the Banff World Media Festival in Canada, in which Doctor Who has won 2 awards, which would be the Best Science Fiction, Action and Fantasy, and Best Scripted Program.
Looks like it just beat out the Big Bang Theory there, eh?
Yeah, there.
Which, if I understand correctly, is a show designed to make fun of people who watch Doctor Who.
Oh, it makes more fun than this Doctor Who, don't you know?
Yeah, it's not like they actually make fun of them there. It's geek comedy, so a lot of people can relate to it, you know.
from what from what little I've seen, it's about portraying nerds in as negative a light as possible.
Then you haven't watched enough.
I don't know, what I've seen has convinced me that I've watched enough.
You say that about a lot of things, Bill. I'm just saying.
Because, the only one that's really, well, a couple of them are a little out of place, but one of them is Sheldon, and we're pretty sure he's half autistic, and the other one is, well, just a bit of a slime ball. But, those are two different types of people that do exist. I actually find them to be amusing, and Sheldon gets toned down slightly by the second or third season.
I kind of felt the way that Bill feels about it the first few seasons. I've seen a few more episodes, and it's kind of warm to me, but I can understand why he would feel that way. Dead
I have
silence.
not seen any episodes of Big Bang Theory yet. So I'm completely lost.
Big Bang Theory is essentially a comedy show about a bunch of geeks who do everything from Dungeons and Dragons to sci-fi conventions, and some of them, I believe, are physicists.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
In fact, most of them are physicists. One of them is looked down upon by a couple of the other ones because he only has a master's degree.
Elitism rears its ugly head again.
Yeah, but he's an engineer, not a physicist. So,
And I
and
know
it's
I'll tell
usually,
you
and
that
it's
it's a
usually
hell of a lot
Sheldon that
harder to
does the
get
looking
into
down on.
it's a hell of a lot harder to get into engineering physics than it is to get into a regular physics major, I'll tell you that.
It's still, I don't think it's as negative as you've come up to be. I mean, I watched several of these episodes and I identified with most of these characters. So I can't say that it's stereotypical because it was very real. I'm watching some of their interactions and going, these are my friends. We interact like this.
So which one is Sheldon, may I ask?
Sheldon, is
I've been told that I was Sheldon.
Jeez.
well, that's not the greatest compliment, Bill. Sheldon is the tall, anal one, who is acted by the person that wasn't in Roseanne prior to this. Basically, Big Bang Theory is kind of geek odd couple.
Kind of, yes.
Because the main character, whose name I've suddenly forgotten because brain is not working.
Bring no worky, bye.
It happens to me. My brain will just suddenly not make a connection on something.
The wires are crossed too hard for Doctor Who, and now that we're on Big Bang Theory, that wire isn't hanging right now. Isn't plugged in at the moment.
Leonard is the main character. So basically, Leonard and Sheldon are basically roommates in an apartment in Los Angeles. They work at the same place. And Sheldon is, like I said, kind of this uptight OCD person. He's one of these people with a mind-bogglingly high IQ, but
I remember hearing he was Asperger's.
it might be Asperger's, it might be autism. They've never actually said what he has, but he definitely has some OCD issues. And he's dealing with Leonard, who, other than being a physicist and a smart guy, is basically relatively normal. Well, relatively normal geek, anyway.
Yeah. Relatively normal for geek standards.
And Leonard has a crush on their neighbor across the hall, Penny, who is an aspiring actress and is by no means a genius or a geek. Although,
So she is not a physicist.
Nope.
no. Although she does become a little more, she does get a little more into geek stuff as the series goes on. Just by osmosis from hanging around with
the weird guys
Leonard,
across
Sheldon,
the hall.
Wolowitz, and Rajesh. So, you hang around geeks, eventually you start picking stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember one episode fairly early on where they managed to get her hooked on Age of Conan.
Okay.
And she turned into the couch potato geek type where it's like I think she had lost her job at the time, so she's basically sitting at home playing Age of Conan, and that's it. This is a situation I could very much relate to, as I did that through most of the aughts. Albeit it was either AO or City of Heroes, and not actually Age of Conan, though I have tried to play that. But, it's not a bad show. Like I said, I actually can relate to most of the characters. So... and it's won a lot of awards on CBS. So the fact that Doctor Who beat it, albeit by a narrow margin, and this is an actual, this was not just Canada A, this was a world, this was television, media and television executives from around the world voting on this.
For a Canadian prize, yeah. For a Canadian award-based award.
It took place in Canada, at least.
Yeah. It's the World Media Festival, but from what I understand, it takes place in Canada. It always takes place in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I have to wonder what BANFF stands for, because it keeps associating itself with BAMF, and I'm certain it does not stand for anything remotely similar.
Banff is a town in Alberta.
Oh, so it is a Canadian.
I actually knew that. I don't know why I had to look it up.
Because you live in Canada Junior.
Smack.
Don't make me hurt you, Bill. But no, I mean, it's Alberta, which is where my mom and stepdad lives, albeit it's on the other side of Alberta from my mom and stepdad. But I think I remember them talking about going to Banff on occasion.
Going over to Banff, eh?
Yeah. And that little bit of Canadian stereotype is true.
Okay,
yes.
Speaking of Canadian stereotype, I have to tell you an anecdote from my day. Because my coworker was talking about her Canadian family's family reunion, where they met at a maple syrup house, played hockey, while all wearing red flannel, and there were moose around.
Wow. Couldn't try harder to be Canadian there.
She's like, it couldn't be any more Canadian, so I asked, were they all apologizing? And she sidestepped the question by saying she has a very polite family.
But no, I mean, hanging around with my stepfather, I've learned one thing. The Canadian stereotype of saying a boot, as South Park has made popular, is false.
I imagine it's not all of Canada, just like not all of Canada talks like John Wayne. I mean, just like not all of America talks like John Wayne.
Mind you,
Canada is a big place, and I did just mispronounce that, but I don't care. So there can be regional accents. Canada has a north, like many other planets.
Yeah.
Do they have an equivalent of John Wayne?
I don't think you have Texas in Canada, no.
Well, they have a Texas in Japan, but that's another story.
They do say about different, but it's more like a different inflection. It comes out about instead of, about. It's like they stress the out, but I don't hear oot. A, on the other hand, is true. I've noticed this even so much as texting with my mother since she's moved up there. The amount she uses the word a has, exponentially increased.
Are you sure that none of it is, a joke?
No, because I've also heard my stepdad, and he's the same way.
Say, because if I even was on vacation in Canada and you were texting me, I would probably end every sentence with a.
No, this is just the fact that my family are kind of linguistic chameleons. We all we have to do is be there for a matter of months, and we start picking up whatever dialect is in the area. You put us in Scotland for 3 months, and we will all start talking like we're native Scotsmen.
Speaking of which, that is a segue.
That was a deliberate segue. Thank you, Bill.
Ha ha!
Oh.
Oh, see, I thought I was cutting off the tangent thing, but apparently you were doing it first. The Royal Television Society Scotland Awards were held for the first time this year. And apparently Peter Capaldi has already done enough Doctor Who to win an award.
Was it actually for Doctor Who, or was it
No,
just Capaldi as an actor?
That was a joke. It says his outstanding contribution to television.
Yeah,
which I said it was the Doctor Who he's done so far.
What was his big series before this one? That was that political one.
The one where he said "fuck" a lot that people talk about.
Yes, it's
what
probably
it's
a good chunk of that because that was outstandingly popular.
Of course, Scotland would be the place to give someone an award for saying "fuck" a lot.
Fucking boo! Apparently, I heard of a British man who heard that actually at a Scottish game. And the guy actually had to pause after the first word for a second or two, kind of going, "Did I say that? Yeah, I guess I did." Boo!
Oh.
They don't actually describe what shows it's for, just his outstanding contribution to television.
Yeah, well, he has.
I say just by becoming the Doctor, he's become one of Scotland's most prestigious actors, obviously.
I think it's their equivalent of a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Well, it's hard to tell because these are brand new awards. This is the first time these awards have been held.
Yes, I know. I'm just saying that's, I think, what the equivalent was for outstanding, because it wasn't for anything in particular. It was just for his body of work. And mind you, Capaldi's been doing television since '84.
Sure,
and he has
quite a list.
Several popular shows under his belt.
He's been doing television all that time. He must be a slacker. He should have spent more time on stage. That's the British thing to do.
Let's see. He's been in a great number of movies. I don't know. He doesn't seem to have done much stage acting.
I've got to say, the picture they chose for that image, though, is very doctory.
Kind of, yeah.
He's staring into my soul. I'm trying to look away, but he might have hypnotized me.
You can't look away.
Never look away, Bill. Never turn your back on Capaldi. He might stab you in the eyes.
Maybe he's a Master Doctor hybrid.
Oh, the fan fiction again. Hello, fan fiction.
If David Tennant
The
and
Thick
John
of It.
Stewart
That was the
did
series he was in for 7 years.
What was his name? Hold on, it's on the top of my head. Professor Yana. Damn it!
You were not alone.
No, what was the actor's name?
Derek Jacobi.
Derek Jacobi.
There we go.
Yeah.
If Derek Jacobi and David Tennant did the fusion dance, Peter
Yes.
Capaldi's Doctor.
Fusion.
Oh, wow. He was in Poirot at one point?
Sweet. Oh yeah, maybe he was.
No,
Wow.
probably about
Sad.
every British actor was in Poirot at one point.
World War Z, The Hour, Thick of It.
The Vicar
That's
of
right,
Dibley.
he was in World War Z as Who Doctor.
Yes.
Oh, he was in Vicar of Dibley.
Yes, he was.
I like Vicar of Dibley.
He played Tristan Campbell for a couple of episodes. He was in Neverwhere.
He's in Torchwood, Children of Earth.
Yep, he was in Torchwood and Doctor Who.
Before coming back to Doctor Who as the Doctor.
He was in The Walking Dead. The Fall Part 1 and Part 2.
Really? No, that's Waking the Dead.
Oh, Waking the Dead, never mind. It looked like Walking Dead. It's just missing an L. My brain
I
skipped
remember
it.
him being in The Walking... Oh, that's because he's not.
Waking Dead. That's a weird title.
Now he was busy
Waking
in
the
the
Dead.
he was busy in the other zombie production being made at the same time, in which he was already messing with the time stream by foreshadowing the fact that he was going to be announced as the Doctor.
Yeah. But, at this point, just because of this large body of work, many of which were popular British shows, it's why the Scots have decided to give him an award because he's one of their homeboys. Otherwise, the award should... If this had been done 5 years earlier, the award would have been going to Tennant,
Vicar Dibley, Crow Road, Neverwhere, Delta Wave, Runaway.
Yeah, I'm looking at his Vicar of Dibley photos, and I do remember his character. I believe he was one of the love interests.
Sylvester McCoy won't get it because he's moved on to movies. He's a big-time Hollywood star now.
Yeah,
I'm in a movie, don't you know?
It's the RFS Scotland the Royal Film Society of Scotland that would be awarding him now.
Mm-hmm.
I love how I type in Pierre Capaldi's character of Vicar of Dibley, and of course Radagast comes up down the line. A picture of Radagast. I'm like, what?
Hello there! You can't escape me! I'm in a movie, don't you know?
That's the thing about Google searches is they
the internet
tend to...
knows it's a different character played. I mean, it's the same character played by a different actor.
That's not even the same series as Vicar of Dibley.
I just wanted to see if steam would come out of Randy's ears.
No, I'm just mentioning the fact that that Google tends to do. I think the five levels of disassociation.
Yeah,
you're looking for the Vicar of Dibley, who's played by Peter Capaldi, who's also played the Doctor, which was also played by Sylvester McCoy, who played Radagast.
Isn't that a Kevin Bacon game?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
5 degrees of separation. But here you're doing it. It's Google does that innately, I think.
Mm-hmm. Kind of,
so
sorta.
There should be like a picture of Kevin Bacon on every Google page eventually.
If you search long enough, yes, you should eventually hit Kevin Bacon.
Speaking of which, there's a list, user list down here.
Speaking of which, in 27 minutes, Eastern Coast, Friday the 13th.
Seriously?
Oh.
I didn't even know that this month. Huh.
Apparently it's also the first time for 40 years or something that the full moon is on Friday the 13th. To which my response was, why the hell have we not gotten that movie? Like, Jason Meets the Wolfman. Do you know how many tickets to that movie I would buy?
Jason is a werewolf.
I'd assume one at a time.
Well, it depends if I
Dude,
can find
if they
that.
actually do the Wolfman right,
Thank
I'll
you
be
for
there.
Thank you for reminding me I have no social life. That I would go to the movie multiple times by myself instead of bringing somebody with me.
Bill, we are on a podcast.
Oh yeah, aren't we supposed to be talking about Doctor Who?
No, what I mean is he's sensing, thanks for reminding me that I have no social life. Bill, you are on a podcast.
About Doctor Who.
At least one of you is in a relationship.
Well, technically 2 of us, because we're in a relationship with each other.
You ruined my
Jason
joke.
would have to fight the
Technically,
Lon
we're
Chaney
all
Wolfman,
in.
though. I don't want him to fight the Benicio del Toro Wolfman.
That's right. 2 of us are in a relationship with each other. Matt, dinner on Friday?
Technically, we're all in relationships since we're all friends.
Mm-hmm.
Aww.
With that, we move on.
Well, technically, everything in the universe is relative to the thing next to it.
The thing next to me is Chinese donuts. What's your point?
You have a relationship with your Chinese donuts.
Oh God, I haven't had Chinese
Oh
donuts
God,
in ages.
the bad fanfic that could come of that.
Oh, I want to know the fanfic that could come of that. Enough! Stop! Cease desist!
Jason and the Wolfman go out to eat Chinese donuts.
But as I was saying...
Jason and the Wolfman go to the Neccohatton? What?
Still a better love story than Twilight.
God damn it, Bill! I had just taken a drink of water. Literally, I had to gargle that. Because I did not want to blow up my computer at a fine spray of white. Congratulations, Bill. You get like 100 points. It's actually relatively hard to make me spit take these days.
But you almost managed to do it. But seriously, if they were to do something like that, as long as it's not the really ugly, stupid CG from that 2010 movie, I'll be fine. I would actually go see that.
I don't care if it was the American Werewolf in Paris werewolf. I would still probably go watch it.
That's because you're a Jason fanboy.
Yeah. Guilty.
I know you are, because you actually had a Jason character to review his movies.
True.
Okay, is that all the news that's fit to print?
Yes, it
much.
is.
No birthdays?
And then some.
Nope.
No deaths?
Nope.
Okay.
Everybody lives, Rose.
Unless
Just
we have
this once.
Australian fans in the chat that want to hear about the tour going to Australia. Nope.
I don't think so.
Those were crickets.
Well, we've gained a viewer since the last time we looked.
Hello, viewer.
Yay!
I haven't talked yet. Hello.
Well, if it's Fireheart, we can talk about the whatever tour going to Australia.
We might as well, since we have time to burn. What tour is this?
I don't know what's a tour. Let me open the. I closed the news site.
Facepalm.
Bad Bill. Bad Bill.
I was assuming we weren't going to talk about it, and then when I just mentioned it offhand because it was a thing. But let's scroll to it. Scroll faster.
While we're waiting on Bill,
It says World Tour announcement, so I don't know if it's just Doctor Who World Tour or what. Maybe there's more information.
Okay, it's Capaldi and Jenna Coleman, aka the Doctor and Clara, are making a world tour promoting the upcoming series of Doctor Who. They started in London. They will go to Seoul, South Korea, Sydney, Australia, New York City, Mexico City, and Rio de Janeiro.
Are there dates on those?
U.S. is August 14th for New York, Mexico City. They don't give a date, but Rio is August 19th, so it must be very brief things.
I may go to the New York one. It's a busy summer for me, so I don't know, but I might. What day of the week is that? It's on a Thursday? Yeah, I'm probably not going to be there.
August 14th, and then August 19th is the following Tuesday, which means they're in Mexico City over the weekend. The tour starts August 7th, which is a Thursday, which is where they're doing Cardiff and London. And they're going 5 continents in 12 days.
just a reminder to everyone who visits
Cardiff
Mexico.
had difficulty traveling from place to place.
Yeah. Following August 19th, Capaldi and Coleman will return to England, where they will be so badly jet-lagged they will sleep until the next filming of Doctor Who.
No, they'll sleep, or at least until the premiere, if nothing else. Well, actually, I just realized this is even more evidence that Randy is right.
What?
They're damn sure not going to have the tour going during episodes 1 and 2.
Oh, for my 25 startup date, yes.
Yeah.
The tour is ending the 19th. That is pretty much going to be 23rd for the premiere, or the 30th, and I'm still betting good money on the 23rd.
Now, if they would end their premiere at GeekCon on the 23rd, I mean, if they'd end the tour at GeekCon on the 23rd,
I wish
be a
we could
better
afford
tour.
for them to. I honestly wish we had that kind of money. I would love to get Capaldi and Coleman there. I would commit axe murder for it. But no, if they're going to go to some place like that,
I
it's
would
going to
settle
be
for
Gen
Russell and
Con
Chris.
or it's going to be Dragon Con. Or, they're going to the San Diego Comic Con if that hasn't happened already.
That's July, yeah. Now here's the thing. While they're damn it. What's between the 7th and the 14th? There are no other dates.
7th and the 14th is going to be Seoul, Sydney.
Okay, 7th is England. Okay, so they'll be in the Eastern Hemisphere. So while they're in the Eastern Hemisphere, Gwen Cooper, John Hart, and Jack Harkness are going to be in Boston, where I will try to run into at least a few of them. And, of course, Kaylee Fry. Yeah, busy summer.
Yeah, apparently.
I wish I could go to more conventions.
If you
Sometime
live
around
in
that
one of
time,
those cities, New York, Seoul, Sydney, Mexico City, Rio de Janeiro, see if you can schedule some time to see what's up with Peter Capaldi and Jonathan Coleman and what they're doing. That would be awesome. I wish I could go.
Sometime around there, I think the Angry Video Game Nerd is also going to be in New York.
Yes, he's going to be marching out his new movie. It's almost done. They're pretty much doing sound mix and music now.
And it's coming out on my sister's birthday. Or at least the premiere is.
And it's now affirmed that BBC America will be showing Doctor Who on its air date. So there's going to be no delay for the U.S. broadcast.
I figured Series 7 was the same way, so I kind of
Yes, but it hadn't been confirmed. Now it has.
Gotcha. Was Series 6 not that way, or are we...
Previous series, there were slight delays.
Gotcha.
I don't know how much delay there was during the Matt Smith era. I think there might have been a week or two.
I know in the David Tennant era it was sci-fi and there was a considerable delay.
There was several months delay.
At least, yeah.
Trust me.
Which probably resulted in the Pirate Bay getting a lot of traffic.
Back then we had Demonoid Bill.
It was they were doing simultaneous. They were trying to be as simultaneous as possible. I think for the last couple of years for BBC America.
Yeah, because BBC America is technically owned by BBC Worldwide, which is an arm of the BBC. They've been have been paying for co-production fees for it. They've been going for a simultaneous broadcast.
Yeah, because I remember it was coming out on Sci-Fi. You guys were talking about it.
But I did think it took a couple of years to sync up. I think they were used to be a couple of weeks behind, like the first year of Matt Smith or so. But either season 6 or season 7 was when they started.
Was there BBC America? Because that's when Torchwood was doing their thing with Stars.
Yes.
Yeah,
that
BBC America has been around for a while now.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time, Bill. The thing is, it used to be a direct arm of the BBC, then they sold it to another company, and there they were not really related to the BBC, and then around 2009, 2008, 2010, something like that, BBC bought them back through BBC Worldwide. Because they felt that whoever was doing it was misrepresenting them. So they bought it back, and at that point they had the money to do so. So I'm suspecting this was before, like 2009 or so, before the crackdown by British Parliament that cut their funding. But they bought it back, and they've been working the co-production stuff at this point. They're still working like a separate entity. It's just owned by the same main group, you know? But still, it's meant nothing but coolness for us because now they've managed to get that so that it's basically airing 6 hours difference.
Of course, it's still not quite to the Five Doctors level where it airs in the U.S. A week before Britain, but it's not bad either.
No, well, I'm fine with not airing beforehand. I understand why. But it always sucks to be Australia because of,
You don't even need because that's the bottom line.
Dude, Australia, we know they kind of take it up the bum in a lot of different ways.
Repeatedly, but I was going to say because of the whole international dateline thing, they are so far ahead of England that they cannot air it. They have to air a week behind.
I thought they aired like 2 weeks behind, and their internet was so crappy that you couldn't watch online even if you tried.
Probably. I hear they're working on improving their internet, but I don't know by how much.
From what I understand, From what I understand, that would also require laying hundreds of miles of fiber optic cable under the Pacific Ocean.
They're talking about doing that, Bill.
Yeah.
The hardest part is the fastest way to go is through Malaysia, and they don't have the best of internet either.
And with that, Bill disappears.
Apparently, Skype was punishing me for talking about somebody else's internet.
Oh, wait a week here. The internet is for porn anyway.
The internet is for porn.
Don't I know it?
Oh, yay. This is what we do when we don't have any news.
Matt got my joke. Aaron made it worse.
I got your joke.
Future Trunks and Android 17.
Oh, God.
She's going back to her slash fiction again.
Yeah, we better move on before we lose her.
They have a female child together.
Okay, moving on, Bill, please.
So, the second episode that Russell T Davies commissioned Stephen Moffat for was along the lines of what he commissioned for the first go, except this time he kind of did also make it horror, but it's still a little closer to being a sex comedy than The Empty Child actually turned out to be.
Uh-huh.
And that is because Russell, I guess Madame de Pompadour was a very popular topic at the time due to, I think, a movie. So Russell wanted to do a Madame de Pompadour episode. And that specifically was the only reason he did the episode. So he turned to his sex comedy guy to write a Madame de Pompadour episode. And this was our result.
Who's doing the summary?
Not me.
Aaron runs away as usual.
Run away.
That wasn't the summary?
All right. It's been a while since I've done a summary, I think.
Actually,
I think you're
can't remember. Was it Randy that did before Bill, or was it me that did before Bill?
The last one I thought you were going to do, you were sick and Matt did it. So I don't remember the last one Randy did.
Yeah, okay, that's good enough. All right.
I guess, yeah.
So, The Girl in the Fireplace.
I don't remember the last one Tim did either.
The TARDIS appears on a spaceship. Well, in the future. Mickey's all excited because it's his first go on the TARDIS and he gets a spaceship.
Is it the 51st or 52nd century? Because that seems to be
it was
the favorite century of Russell.
It was at least the 48th.
It was 3,000 years in the future.
Well, he
3,000 years in the future from 18th century France.
Yeah.
Even before they find out about France, they specifically say either 51st or 52nd century. Mickey, welcome to the future.
Did they? Because I know there was an opening blurb with them in the Paris, France, Versailles, and them calling, and then when they get past the episode bump, it says 3,000 years later.
Oh, okay. I missed that part, but yeah, the Doctor specifically tells Mickey and Rose what century it is when they. Oh yeah, because Rose asks the Doctor how far in the future they are, and I think he says 52nd century.
Okay, well,
actually
that
makes sense
3000 was
because
approximate.
the prior season, I think, was the 51st century, so it would make sense to move on to the 52nd now.
We're moving ahead a century at a time. Anyway, Mickey's all excited because it's his first go on a spaceship, but they all notice something odd, that there's the smell of basically Sunday roast in the air. This is quickly forgotten as the doctor finds something even more unusual. Apparently, what looks to be a 17th century fireplace is attached to the outer hull of the ship. Windows next to it look out into space, but looking through the fireplace, the doctor sees a bedroom. And in the bedroom's a young girl who identifies herself as Renette. Originally, the doctor finds this to be weird and figures out the ship is putting out enough power to blow a hole in the universe, and this must be the hole. He finds out that he can actually that the fireplace rotates, and doing such, he finds himself in the room of the girl. But he notices it's weird that the clock on the mantle is broken, yet he can still hear ticking. Examining under the bed, the doctor finds what looks like this harlequin figure dressed in period clothing that, after a bit of questioning, vanishes.
Actually, no, they have a quick fight and they go through the fireplace again.
Yeah, they have a quick fight. They go through the fireplace again.
And then he vanishes.
And then the doctor uses a fire extinguisher on it to shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
However, it manages to reload itself and teleport away. Though the doctor does manage to pull the mask off of it and discovers that it is essentially a clockwork man. Going back through the fireplace to check on the girl, it is now apparently several years later.
A couple months later.
What? No, that was...
Oh, no, wait, no, that was the first... No, never mind. Yeah.
Yeah. It's now several years later, and the little girl is now a young woman. Originally shocked to see him in the bedroom, considering that she considered him to be her imaginary friend. She takes a brief time to talk to him about this, and of course give him a kiss, this being New Who and all. But upon leaving, here's a footman call her...
quite a bit more than that.
What's that?
The intended subtext is that they do quite a bit more than that, and that's what takes the doctor so long to get back.
Bill, no. I don't know where you are.
No.
No, Bill, this is the kiss scene.
Yes.
And then they mention it several hours after that before.
No, that's another later time, scene, Bill. We're still at the beginning of the episode. You're talking the middle of the episode.
Yeah. This is the kiss scene. She leaves after the kiss, and a footman calls out Madame Poissant. Tenant, or the 10th Doctor, recovers from his kiss to realize that means that it's Madame Jeanette Antoinette Poisson, a.k.a. Madame de Pompadour, thus having him shout out, "I'm the Doctor, and I just snogged Madame de Pompadour." After this, he goes back to the ship, checks up on everybody, who, of course, in his absence have wandered off, because they're companions and they do that.
He also meets a horse.
Yes. While wandering through the ship, he comes across the horse and finds another window leading to a different part of 17th century or 18th century France, that apparently is a few years later after that meeting. The Doctor crawls back into that and stalks Madame de Pompadour a little bit before I forget, does he actually see her in that, or does she see him in that scene? Or does he go back?
I think she gets quick glimpses of him.
She has an idea that he might be there, but she doesn't make eye contact with him.
Yep. They cut back to the ship where Rose and Mickey have discovered a human-looking eye inside a camera lens, and a grate which contains a human heart which seems to be working as a pump. Further on, they discover another window to another portion of France, apparently through a mirror. And the doctor joins them and mentions it is the point that Madame de Pompadour first meets Louis, the King of France, and that she is apparently his future mistress. This is a little bit of news and a little bit of exclamation between Rose and Mickey, and the doctor then, says France. It's like another world. But this scene is interrupted as she realizes the clock there is broken. She hears ticking and turns around. Somebody in the corner turns out to be another one of these clockwork androids. In comes the doctor, Rose, and Mickey, stun the thing again, and they try to get it to answer questions. It is discovered that the ship had been badly damaged, over 80%, and there had been 50 crew on the ship, but the self-repair systems didn't have the parts, so it used the crew. Hence the smell of roast cooking and the eye and the heart pump. It needs only one part left, and that seems to be the brain of Renette. But she's not yet ready. She's not yet compatible. Before they can get much further, Renette, in a moment of horror, yells at the thing to go away, and it teleports out. Thus, the doctor knows that they are now searching for a specific point in time to collect Renette's head. And he goes to try to figure out what point that is and prepare for it, leaving Renette, of course, to take the slow path, which continues on with history. Rose then visits Renette later and tells her that there will be another time where they will come and attack in about 5 years. And they're looking for it. Against Rose's wishes, Renette goes briefly into the ship, looks around, and hears her own voice calling for help from 5 years in the future. But after some convincing, she goes back to her own time to wait for this period, which takes us back to the beginning of the episode, like I mentioned with the pre-bump, where it's time. The clockwork androids all find the correct window and attack en masse, causing a huge ruckus in the court of France. Renette begs them all to settle down, mentioning that this is Versailles, this is France, and we are French. She tells the androids no, she's not going with them, but they're not taking no for an answer. She is about to be decapitated by one of the androids when the doctor comes riding in through one of these windows on his horse and causes them to shut down because they can no longer get back to the ship. He broke the connection. Later on, the doctor is talking about and trying to make sense about how to go along the slow path. And Renette says that would be nice, but takes him to her room and shows her the fireplace that she had from her original room when she was a child. The doctor mentions that it must have lost connection to the ship when he was moved, manages to fix it and go back to the ship. Asks Renette to pack a bag, goes back into the ship, asks Rose and Mickey how long they were gone. They said 5.5 hours. He goes back to collect Renette, but discovers that time has once again passed and that Renette has already died. After some brief talking with the King of France, who is a little astounded by the doctor's lack of aging, he hands the doctor a letter from her.
Remind me to mention that later.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor goes back to the TARDIS, and after a little bit of false cheeriness with Rose and Mickey, Rose starts to give Mickey the nickel tour, and the doctor reads his letter in silence and sheds a tear. As the TARDIS takes off, it is revealed that the reason the ship was wanting Renette's brain is it's the SS Madame de Pompadour.
And then the ship was waiting for her to be the same age as itself.
Yes. And that's the episode in a nutshell. I know I left some things out, but we can discuss it as we go along.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the plot of Series 5. I mean, Girl in the Fireplace.
Well, that's good.
Something I had mentioned to them before the podcast is the fact that Moffat was not aware of what Russell T Davies was doing with this season, the whole Torchwood theme, and thus Torchwood is the only story arc in the second series that Torchwood is not mentioned.
And it's understandable, especially if they left the writer in the dark.
It's kind of interesting because if you take a look at all of Moffat's works, with the exception of the first season, none of them really have any bearing on the season story arcs.
Which makes me wonder if Blink has a Vote Saxon poster in it or not.
I don't think so. Not that I recall,
I don't think
at least.
it does.
If it does,
And
it's probably
I
just in the
don't
background.
remember there's something on your back reference for season 4 in...
No, but there's a few references that something's going to happen to Donna.
Okay, so
Like
he was at least in the loop at that point.
River's reaction when she realizes that she's just met Donna Noble.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
A little over the top.
Yes.
But yeah, I during the same part of our pre-podcast conversation, I had mentioned that as someone who's generally a pretty good script editor, having the Clockwork androids come right before the Cybermen was not Russell's smartest move.
Yeah,
Still
it
different
kind of...
enough, in my opinion. But
Like
it's
Yeah.
Moffat can be excused from this one because he didn't know Cybermen were coming next, or at least he probably didn't.
Yeah, if he
Probably
did, then he made a mistake.
Yeah.
Probably why I don't really remember this episode too well. I mean, I do remember that it exists, but there were a lot of details that.
Yeah, I don't
not-
remember this one for the villains. I remember this one as the character drama
yeah,
between the Doctor and Renette.
pretty much.
The thing with
The
this,
Clockwork androids were kind of more of an afterbeat.
the thing with this one is I remembered it as there was that one adventure where Mickey goes somewhere on a spaceship and Rose and Mickey get captured and the Doctor comes back from a party with a horse. But I had no idea who Madame Pompadour was and could not
Dad,
remember.
he is the
what was it.
oncoming storm. Yeah. I love that scene, by the way. But yeah, it's not the most memorable of episodes, other than the
Arthur.
whole Doctor and Madame de Pompadour. I knew who Madame de Pompadour was at this point. I did not know, quite as much as I do now.
Yeah, I
But
ended
I
up
knew-
researching her after the fact. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew that she was one of the mistresses to Louis XIV. That was as much, and she was considered to be a kind of a Renaissance person. But that's all I knew.
I'd heard the words Madame de Pompadour uttered, but I didn't know if she was an actual person.
Yeah, pretty much.
I knew that, but I do remember a bit off of my world history classes.
I think I remember hearing.
I remember there was a madam who was a de Pompadour. What that meant or what its relevance was, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were
I
never
did not-
really taught very much about French history. I mean, other than the French Revolution.
Yeah,
and,
most
Korean
of
and-
what we were taught in my history classes about France involved them being invaded by Germany over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I had the world's most interesting world history teacher. I don't remember his name now. I remember the first class I go into. He's like, "Welcome to 10th grade world history, or as I call it, 5,000 years of sex and gore." And that was just like, I know this. I knew the next year was going to be great. And that was quickly my favorite class, as he was like king of the anecdote, which made you kind of raise eyebrows. And so yes, there was quite a bit about France.
The vast majority of my 10th grade world history class was from World War One to Vietnam.
My world history class consisted of mostly Roman, pretty much the Roman Empire.
I guess
That was in my that was part of my 9th grade world history because it was we had World History 1, which was everything up to the Renaissance.
My school did things a little differently because we alternated world history, U.S. history.
Oh yeah, for us, world history was mandatory the first 2 years, and U.S. history the 3rd year.
Yeah, it was for us, and this was the same in elementary school. It was like world history, U.S. history, world history, U.S. history, world history, U.S. history, and it was amazing as you grew up with that because every 2 years you learned everything you learned the previous year was wrong or inaccurate,
or just incomplete. Yeah.
As you covered the same things, but it was like completely different.
Almost like they were lying to you.
But yeah, so I knew more or less, the basics on Madame de Pompadour when I knew this. And I remember watching this the first time going, well, isn't this going to change history, Doctor? And of course it didn't, but still it was kind of interesting. Yeah, the clockwork repair droids or whatever they called themselves were completely superfluous in a way. I mean, they had to be there for the main plot of the episode, but they could have been.
They were there so that the Doctor would meet Madame de Pompadour.
Yeah, that was basically it.
Which makes sense because Renette was in the brief that Davies gave to Moffat. The androids were not. They were there specifically so that character A and character B could have a plot device to bring them together.
Although,
I like their design.
Yeah, I still think they have a design that could very easily be fit into another story anytime now. But the fact that they've ignored them so hard.
How easy it was to beat them. Like I feel like you should have at least had to screw them. Sonic screw them. Driver.
Bill.
Are you looking at Dragon Ball Z porn too, Bill?
No. No, I'm not.
You seem a little Freudian there, Bill.
Well, the Doctor was doing some screwing, so yeah.
Yeah, there was
a little confusion.
A film or a television movie that came up in that same year, 2006, called Jean Poisson, Marquis de Pompadour.
Well, that rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, it does.
I suppose if you speak French, it does. Me, you're lucky if you get me to pronounce Madame de Pompadour right. You're doing pretty well.
Gosh, what was Super Castlevania 2's name again? I forget now. But yeah, that was another mouthful. There's a couple of things out there these days that are just titles that are a mouthful to try and even read, much less look at.
It was apparently a TV, but it apparently didn't do as well as the Doctor Who episode, as it doesn't even have a wiki page.
Wow. Okay. So it was enough to get their attention to do a Madame de Pompadour episode, but it wasn't good enough to actually be remembered after that year.
Apparently.
Wow.
I'm wondering if there was something else that was going on.
From what I understand, Madame de Pompadour was just popular that year.
Okay.
For some reason. Maybe it was an anniversary or something.
That's what I was checking. It's technically it would have been the 285th anniversary of her birth, but not from her death.
Weird.
Yeah, that's not what I would not one of those nice big round numbers.
Right.
I don't see any other major dates that would have been, celebrated about then. It must have just been kind of a trendy thing.
Of all
Trendy
the
things.
I guess.
Yes. Of all the
I can
trends
see
to
trending
reference in all the science fiction series in all the world, they had to pick Madame de Pompadour.
Not that it made for a bad episode.
Yeah, it didn't really. I mean, they've done
Oh,
Doctor Who's done this kind of stuff before.
I mean, the thing with popularity nowadays, she could have been a Tumblr meme in 2006, and that could have been the entire inspiration behind everything.
Could have been.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
After all, we did see
Tumblr
Moffat
even exist?
later use the Twitter Tumblr meme of Statue of Liberty Angel and turned it into an angel in the worst angel episode of Doctor Who ever.
Did Tumblr even exist in 2006?
Not sure Tumblr existed.
Does anybody
Twitter
hear Tumblr?
did.
But Twitter did. I'm pretty sure there's a couple other social
Twitter
medias
was
that
like
did.
brand new.
The internet did.
Like Facebook
Computers
was,
did. I know computers
Tumblr
were around.
was
in
not
2000.
around in
Facebook was-
2006. It was
Facebook
founded
was
the year
still
after.
becoming popular. Okay. Maybe it was no, I doubt, because, well, Moffat was probably he wasn't a college student, so he wasn't on Facebook. Maybe it was a MySpace thing.
Who knows?
Hmm.
Now everybody's on Facebook. I'm even
Yeah, well-
on Facebook and I hate it.
Don't know
But
why I use
now-
it so
Madame de
much.
Pompadour didn't wear her hair in a pompadour.
Isn't that a kind of dog?
No, it's pompadour hairdo.
Then what's the dog?
I don't know, what is a dog?
Pomeranian.
Oh, Pomeranian. Now
Yeah,
that
there
was
you go.
something, a
Labrador.
Pomeranian and a pompadour.
You guys want to know pompadour hairstyle? Vanilla Ice.
The pompadour actually did take its name from Madame de Pompadour.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
It's the big poof of hair that sweeps down. Men can wear it too. Like I said, Vanilla Ice has kind of sort of worn it. But it swoops down kind of close to the forehead. They also have a picture of Elvis Presley. It kind of comes up and kind of, it's kind of like the reverse bump craze that is going around nowadays. Have you guys heard about the bump?
No.
For women, it's where it makes the back of their heads look more poofy. It looks like their brain is trying to escape their skull.
I don't know. I don't really pay attention to fashion trends. It's not my
Yeah,
thing.
usually when I watch something and it looks like the brain is trying to escape from their skull, it's because that's actually what's happening in the movie.
Yes.
Yes.
Here, Bill. I'm sending you a link over Skype. And Matt, if you want to, you can get up photos of it online in case someone else watching the stream or watching the thing on YouTube.
Where
doesn't know what a
have we
pompadour
gotten
hairstyle.
sidetracked onto hairstyles?
Because it's called a pompadour.
Madame
Oh, you're
de
sending a link to a
came up
pompadour.
with yeah.
I just did a wiki search for pompadour hairstyle and it came up.
Mhm.
So that's supposed to be a pompadour, huh?
Yeah, mind you, Betty Davis wore a modern pompadour. It's really just big front hair.
Mhm.
Pretty much.
What did not stand out to me watching this episode the first time, but definitely stands out in retrospect, that this is about a girl that the doctor meets as a child, who he says to wait, he'll be there in a few minutes, and comes back late. Comes back throughout her life. She sees him as her imaginary friend.
Yeah, this is pretty much this. He pretty much recycled this whole thing to make Amy Pond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
now,
River Song and Clara and
Mhm.
the next female character he writes.
The 11th hour seems even less special to me now.
Yeah, this does kind of... I never had thought of the 11th hour in retrospect to this episode before, but yeah, it does take some of the wind out of the sails of the 11th hour.
Yes, it does.
I might have to retroactively lower my rating on the 11th hour.
Because recycling this soon is a bad sign of writing. Especially when it came from the same writer.
Yeah.
It's like Moffat can only tell one story. Even so, I mean, when this episode came out, it was fair. It was basically an original concept.
Yes, it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that at least they went by a slightly different way, but it's not hard to do it a slightly different way.
Like, I feel like it might have been something like, this was the episode Moffat wrote, and then he finished it, and he's like, damn, I could have done so much more with that idea, and then wrote the 11th hour.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think he was hamstrung because it was Madame de Pompadour. It was a historical figure that he could not take out of history.
He took this idea, realized, the stories he could tell with the same idea, and wrote it again. The problem is he just kept writing it.
And writing it, and writing it.
And it gets more creepy each time.
And you'll notice a little bit of Moffat starting to slip into the Mary Sue-isms. The fact that Madame de Pompadour was able to, when the doctor's reading her mind, she's able to read his right back for no apparent reason.
No, but at least in the dialogue, it's pretty much like it kind of makes sense. Where like the doctor kind of opened the gateway between them and just assumed that nobody would, just assumed that whoever he's doing the mind meld with would just sit quietly and watch. Whereas it's actually maybe a lot closer to a Vulcan mind meld where they can actually both go into one another's mind. He just assumed no one would bother. Yeah. At least that's the way I got it from.
Yeah, that's the way I understood it too, and I have no problems with that, to be honest.
Like now,
well,
if it was
no,
something,
I'm just saying though, it's the start that she's
right.
He basically kind of idealizes her in this.
Well, like if this was the type of thing where it was like, oh God, if he like made a big deal, he's like, nobody's ever done that before. How did you do that? And she's like, it was easy. Then it would start to be creeping into
Mary Sue territory. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just noting that it's the beginning of it having abilities that they normally wouldn't, and it's okay in this one because that's really the only part of it where it's getting there and explained. It's the fact that if Moffat had basically carried on with this character, it probably would have shown more and more of that.
So far the main thing, the main, well, not even just so far because obviously it's the only episode with her, but the main thing with her is just that she's unfazed and keeps a level head in situations that would surprise a lot of other people, which I have absolutely no problem with. That's
some people are like that.
Perfectly good character trait for me. That makes her more relatable as a character than Rose at sometimes to me. So I have no problem with that. Now, the fact that she said that she had stepped in the Clockwork Android's world and didn't like it, and nobody questioned this, that felt a little off to me.
No one questioned it because everyone was petrified with fear at the Clockwork Androids that were about to stab them all to death. And who's going to question that right now, Bill?
No, but they could have questioned her an hour later when the androids were dead.
According to history, she was actually married when she met the King of France for the first time. And when he took her as the mistress, they basically separated between her and her husband. Huh. Interesting.
Different. Okay. Like the doctor says, France is a totally different world. Oh, there's Arthur.
Let's see. Anything else about this? I mean, it's a 1 hour episode, so it's not like we're going to have that much to talk about on it.
Yeah. One thing I want to talk about: if you're going to have a character, and this is to the director and the makeup team, if you're going to have a character talk about how another character is not aging, maybe have that character age a little bit.
Oh, you mean the King of France?
Like, I think his hair changed. Yeah, the King of France. I think his hair changed.
They put a gray wig, obvious gray wig on him.
They didn't put a single wrinkle on his face. His face looks the exact same age in every scene he's in.
Well, mind you, he's only supposed to be 40-something, I think.
No, but he talks about all those years, and he talks about how you haven't aged, and I'm like, but neither have you, so it's really distracting when you're talking about him aging.
Looking between scenes here really quick, on images here, yeah, it's obvious that they gave him a different wig. They also let him grow a little bit of 4 o'clock shadow there. And I think they may have attempted a little bit of makeup to make his eyes look a little deeper and older, but other than that, yeah, it's kind of see-through.
It looked to me like he hadn't aged a day.
Yeah.
Louis the 15th was 54 when Madame de Pompadour died.
Yeah, he does not even look nearly that old.
He looks in his 30s in that scene.
At best.
Plus, not counting the wig.
By the way, Matt,
even the original hair looks wiggish, so I didn't even look at the wig.
When you said, and here's Arthur, the first thing that went through my mind is, that's not Arthur, that's a Zygon. Well, it's supposed to be the same horse.
Is it? So it was... Oh, wow.
You just blew Bill's mind.
That horse. Now, the fact that Madame de Pompadour and Queen Elizabeth are pretty much the same character is...
Aww.
Kind of odd, but...
He has this thing about apparently about going out with royalty. Well, technically, Madame de Pompadour was a Commodore. What?
Does Marilyn Monroe count?
Kind of American royalty in a way.
Kinda, yeah. But popular figureheads.
Well, he's always hobnobbed with popular figureheads.
And when he didn't, he lied and said he had.
Mm-hmm. I'm also hearkening back to the movie where it's like they have the same issue brought up. Because she starts bringing up people, it's like, and yeah, do you know Madame Curie intimately?
Fantastic kisser, remarks the master.
She kissed as good as you, as well as you.
As well as you. And they both look at the master.
Dang it, I forgot what I was going to say that reminds me of. Oh. No, actually it doesn't really remind me of anything. But it kind of, in my strange brain, brings up an association.
Triggered by association.
The doctor speaking causes it to remind me of a scene. But that's... You know that Moffat was kind of in the dark as to how the whole season was progressing, because he writes a line in just such a way that David Tennant feels compelled to use Christopher Eccleston's pronunciation.
Which line?
Fantastic gardener.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Kinda, sorta.
He's describing...
You wonder if Moffat had originally wrote this for Eccleston, but then,
Yeah, pretty much. I mean...
And later rewrites had to change it up a little bit.
That's how Gaddis wrote The Idiot's Lantern was for Eccleston.
And, again, then Tennant wound up with the role, yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which that also had Ecclestonisms, because it had the, it had the I am talking, except this time to the doctor instead of from him. And we seem to have
that's
lost,
kind of become a doctorism now. Because Yeah.
It was used 3 times during Eccleston's run. It was used once against the Doctor during the Tennant run, and then once by Smith.
But that Smith one has kind of become famous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's part of the Pandorica speech.
But I also say that since while we're talking about this a little bit, the design of the androids, the entire French costume part is okay. It definitely fits with the theme of the particular story. The thing that I think that makes them stand out and would be easily reusable and doable for another story is the clockwork android itself underneath. I still find that as a very unique kind of creature that could easily be reused anytime they wanted to. I would think they would still have the prop.
See that?
Because that is a pretty darn fancy robot, if I do say so myself. Clear dome head, all these tiny gold gears and everything moving.
They gotta still have those somewhere in their prop wardrobe.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
I wonder if anti-oil was a jab at anti-plastic.
I think it was.
Like the more I read it, Doctor Who history, like with the script, the writers taking jabs at their producers, like I kind of feel like the anti-oil was a direct response to anti-plastic at this point.
What's this about anti-oil and anti-plastic?
Anti-plastic was used in Rose to stop the Auton or the Nest team. And then here, when he does that scene where he comes in acting drunk, he has a wine glass, which when he pours it in there, shuts down the.
This is wine.
Yeah, and then he says quickly, "It's anti-oil."
And then they shoot it onto the floor.
If it moves, it doesn't. Yeah.
And then they shoot it onto the floor, and he's like, "Nice trick" or something.
Mm-hmm. Multi-grade anti-oil is what he calls it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you gotta have the multi-grade. You can't just have the single grade.
Because it won't work for everything if it's a single grade.
Yeah. Especially clockwork androids, robots, things.
Or you could get the Michael graded, and it only works on Bakers and McCoys.
And if you've been watching us for a while, you've got that reference. If you're entirely a new to Who person, back read our podcasts. Or back listen to our podcasts. We can use the hits.
Right.
Watch us!
Okay, let's see. Anything else? What did you guys think of the human parts in the machine special effects? The eye, the heart pump.
The eye was very obviously CG, but it wasn't by any means terribly bad CG.
Do you have photos of them? Because I always seem to look away at those particular moments. I know they're there, but I can't recall the image in my mind.
I liked the when it showed the point of view of the eye camera looking at Mickey and Rose.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was a good but also very easy effect. Being a video maker that I am.
Also, since we were talking about recycling ideas, human eye in the machine, victory of the Daleks, enough said.
I remember Victory.
Although that wasn't really Moffat's, was it?
He oversaw it. He didn't write the script. I think it might have been a Chibnall script. No, it was Gaddis. It was Gaddis, I think. Now I'm not sure.
There's the spaceship
One of the
eye.
two.
Oh, here it is. I just finally found it myself.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I'm looking for one of the heart pump, but that one I don't think was as popular as the camera eye.
Yeah, because the camera eye did a little bit more. It actually came out and looked them right in the face.
Mm-hmm.
It actually reminded me of the the creature that stares at C-3PO and R2-D2 from Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, only that thing really was just a bunch of lights in there. I remember that thing.
And also, as a practical effect, so it's a little more stiff.
Okay. Victory was Gaddis, but that was definitely overseen by Moffat. So it was
I'm looking
Moffat was the
Fireplace.
one who wanted to redesign the Daleks.
I'm looking at Girl in the Fireplace Heart, and I'm not coming up with anything.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I couldn't find anything. It's hard to, anything with a heart, it's kind of hard to use code, to use the appropriate keywords because that word is just all over the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I don't think there's a public picture on that one.
At least not easy to find public picture.
We got the eye camera, so there you go.
Interesting thing I noticed looking at Victory of the Daleks, if you consider Gaddis to be part of Moffat's writing mechanism, you could pretty much say that Moffat wrote the first 5 episodes of Series 5.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I thought the effects for the bits and pieces of the people stuck in the machinery were pretty good, as well as the interior clockwork effects of the robots. The only thing I didn't quite like the look of is when he's kind of crashing through the mirror on the horse, which obviously the mirror has to be
God,
CGI.
yeah.
Yeah,
Matt and I were talking about that green screen a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's not the worst effect, but it looks kind of.
Yeah, when he lands and it's slow motion like that, that's actually how they did. It reminds me of how the wolves look in some parts of Game of Thrones. Where they obviously didn't quite have the CGI to. It looks like they took a regular sized animal and just like photoshopped it at a slower frame
It's
rate.
kind of what they had to do because they couldn't have a horse jump from that onto a hard floor. You would break the damn horse's legs. So a lot of that was done in an area where they could have the horse like basically jump a fence, and then just CGI'd in the bits they needed.
The thing I remember when I first watched this, I just assumed that they got the effects the way they wanted them to. I was like, oh, that's not a mirror. It's some kind of portal to another dimension. That's what looks so weird. And realizing after the fact, I'm like, no, that's supposed to be a mirror.
I just don't like how.
I feel like they could have bought a cheap. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I don't like how fuzzy it looks. Like when he lands, you can actually see the. It looks almost as if the frame is going out of focus. Like during the animation of the horse.
I hadn't noticed that part, but I was like, as I'm describing, I was kind of focused on the mirror effect. Like, I feel like they could have just bought a cheap mirror somewhere and like shot something through it and had a better, and then green screened the horse into it from there.
Well, actually, yeah, the mirror effect itself starts to grab your attention that there's something not quite right here.
Yeah, you look at some of the still photos they have.
Yeah, because the mirror looks a little too. How to say? It looks a little too CG'd. Like they didn't quite have the animation there for the mirror smashing animation.
The main thing that distracts me with the mirror is that the way the quote unquote reflections on the mirror move and react, it doesn't look remotely like a solid mirror. It looks like a tarp torn apart and used for green screen, which is probably what it was.
I'd like to say it's because they spent all the money on the werewolf a couple episodes previous, but I think that was in a different filming block.
Oh, speaking of the budget, I was going to go back to a topic we were talking about a few minutes ago that I was going to comment on. The using the human parts in the spaceship, I think, would have been a bit more effective considering he said that 50 crew people were cannibalized by this, I wish they had like gone and like, oh, here's a switch and there's a finger on it, or other things that just like shouldn't be there.
Yeah, if other things would actually pop up, because apparently they didn't have the parts for 80% damage.
Although it's odd that Moffat would also go back and use that idea again in Silence in the Library with the auto teller things that are using human faces.
I remember that kind of happened, but it was like there were so many strange things unrelated to each other going on in that episode that I could never figure out, like no one thing stayed in my mind long enough to figure out what its relevance was.
Yeah, I would have to say that's not really an attention gear for me. It's not exactly the same idea
No,
either.
it just occurred to me as I'm sitting here talking that was kind of an idea that Moffat went back and reused in a way. Because those were the people that were saved, and suddenly all their faces were getting used on those little teller thingies. It just kind of, it's like Moffat has this little thing about using, a meld of human part and machine.
Kinda.
And the idea of quote-unquote saving people and quote-unquote saving people. People who are dead, but then they're still, they're still around in some way.
Where does he use that again?
No, he used it in Silence. You're talking about what I was talking about?
Silence of the Library, Forest of the Dead is the only time I've seen that used.
I'm talking about them using the body parts in here. Like the crew is still there; they're still on board the ship. It's just that they're in pieces.
Yeah, but they're never really considered to be saved.
Yeah, they didn't exactly say they were saving the crew. They're saving the ship.
That they're being utilized.
They got cannibalized for parts.
Yes.
And I'm suspecting they were alive when they got cannibalized for parts. So really, the ship itself committed 50 acts of murder. Mm-hmm. Somebody forgot to write in the laws of robotics there.
That's what I was thinking.
That's what I was just
clearly
thinking.
This did not take place in an Asimov universe.
No.
Either that or the ship. Either that or the ship itself got so damaged that it couldn't remember those laws.
Yeah.
Something to that effect, yeah.
And that just brought me back to Adams.
What was that, Bill?
And that back to Douglas Adams.
Oh God. I just found a picture online of Tennant's doctor looking through a fireplace that leads into Hogwarts.
Oh yeah, I've seen that a couple times now. It's a drawn picture.
So awesome. Sorry, Bill.
That would be a completely way to redo this episode without Madame de Pompadour.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that would be cool. Like if the doctor had stumbled into an alternate universe or something, and like
the problem is any fic writer that does it will immediately have the 10th Doctor mistaken for Barty Crouch Jr.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't have to be Hogwarts. It can be a school for like special kids.
On the plus side, the clockwork androids wouldn't work in Hogwarts.
Yeah.
True.
And any school for special kids, Aaron, huh?
So,
welcome to the Xavier
special
School.
Kids with magical powers that have nothing to do. Like they all have let them all have sonic screwdrivers. The sonic screwdriver is little more than a magic wand.
The doctor has already taught a group of students with magic powers how to make an ancient technological device.
So now my brain goes sideways and thinks the Doctor and Charles Xavier.
And I just thought of the Doctor meets Charles in Charge.
I wouldn't mind seeing a crossover with Patrick Stewart and any of the Doctors, honestly.
It'd be a way to get Patrick Stewart in Doctor Who. And, other than those little combination videos that people make of the...
I just thought of something. David Tennant as Scotty's cousin.
I wouldn't mind seeing Tenet in one of the upcoming Star Trek movies. Apparently, there might be an upcoming Star Trek series on Netflix.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Kind of interested in that.
I've also been hearing a lot of the TV shows from Marvel
day.
lately.
And what would that be?
Is that David Tennant is the 10th Doctor.
Yep.
And?
Doesn't that blow your mind?
Nope.
That the word
No,
10
because
is in his name?
My mind is blown by imagining Simon Pegg and David Tennant sitting in a room doing their best Jimmy Doohan impressions.
I'd pay to see that.
Yeah.
Thing is, my brain added Mike Myers to the mix.
Nice.
I assume you mean the comedian and not the slasher villain.
No, I
That's
mean...
Michael Myers.
Yeah. When I say Mike Myers, I mean,
Shrek.
Yeah, or as I was thinking him from his old, if it's not Scottish, it's crap bit from Saturday Night Live. Because it's the same voice. Matt knows what I'm talking about.
A little bit, yes. I've heard of this skit, yes.
But yeah, my brain just thought of the three of them sitting in a room, all trying to make their cheesiest Scottish accents. Only one of them is a native Scotsman.
I had no idea where Simon Pegg was from, so.
He's from the London area.
Gotcha.
His wife is Scottish, and she's the one that's doing all the coaching for him to be, Scotty.
Oh,
Gotcha.
by the way, I just happened to think of something. Speaking of this episode again, you do realize that we actually have a Monty Python sketch here. A Scotsman on a horse.
And now, a Scotsman on a horse. I don't know if Tennant thought about that. Oh, yeah, there's another bit I noticed. Costuming. I guess we can add another stop to the TARDIS somewhere in the history prior to this episode. Because you realize what Rose is wearing the entire time?
I forget.
She is wearing a Wichita Falls t-shirt. Wichita Falls is in Texas. And we're fairly certain Rose Tyler could never afford to go to Texas in the United States.
Probably not. Not in the position that she was.
So, obviously that means that she picked it up on the travel somewhere.
Well, we can imagine that they traveled more than one place with Mickey.
Mm-hmm. Well, not...
Actually, no. They said this is the first time they landed in the future.
The first time they've taken Mickey off-world. And probably the only.
Uh-huh.
Unless he's immediately after the school reunion, he says to Mickey, wait at this donut shop while I take Rose to Texas.
We were looking for a picture of the heart pump. I found one.
Oh. Okay.
There you go. It's a very small thumb.
Zoom it in.
Yeah, the
500%.
the Davies era does have a lot of companions that don't last very long.
Yep. You have Adam. You
Adam,
have Mickey.
Jack, Mickey. I mean, I'm counting Jack because in his third episode he gets shot by a Dalek. So.
Yep. We have Jackie.
Jackie, if you count her, I mean, she doesn't come to a gruesome end, and she only travels in the TARDIS once by accident.
Honey Biff.
Actually, no, she traveled in the TARDIS twice, Bill.
Are you counting Journey's End as one of them?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I never realized she'd be a companion.
Technically,
Well,
yes.
she's apparently not rated enough to help pilot the TARDIS like all of his other companions.
Yeah.
No, Jackie, just no.
Jackie, you just sit right over here.
Would you want Jackie anywhere near the steering wheel of your car?
No.
Sure.
No, but you wouldn't want Pete either.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pete should just avoid cars altogether.
Was Pete allowed to help drive?
He wasn't in Journey's End.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, why are you bringing him up? Did he help drive?
Because of his horrible, gruesome death by car on Father's Day?
He wasn't.
Yeah, he wasn't in that
He is
one for
not
some
part
reason.
of the conversation.
I was just saying. Anyway, it's about 15 minutes before we end. So I guess we should probably get around to final thoughts here.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So, Bill.
The first time I watched it, it didn't really stick out to me. It just was a random episode that had nothing to do with the plot. It didn't have a Torchwood reference. It was overshadowed by what came immediately before and immediately after. Watching it again after the fact, it comes off as a Stephen Moffat greatest hits episode. Which is kind of weird considering it's only his second episode. Well, third if you count his pre-canon episode. So it's kind of hard to say, how I feel about that. Ultimately, I don't dislike the episode, but it shouldn't have been placed right after Sarah Jane and right before the Cybermen, that's for sure.
Matt.
I have to agree with Bill that I think its only major fault is that it came in right in between some of the more popular episodes, so it kind of got very quickly overshadowed. But even then, in its own right, for the most part, it is a really darn good episode, and it actually is one that I do remember. It just that the villains are kind of forgettable, and what I actually remember is what's going on between characters in the particular story. And that the villains could have been used more often by this point, but sadly they have not tried to, as far as I'm aware.
Okay, Aaron.
I kind of sort of remember this story a little bit. It's still kind of fuzzy, but it's kind of the ones I didn't really like because it really it plays up the romance aspects a little too much, and we already have Rose doing that. We already have Rose pining for the 10th Doctor. Do we really need to bring in yet another woman pining over the 10th Doctor? And then
So again, yeah, especially right after school reunion.
Yeah, and Sarah Jane, again, pining over the Doctor, and
yeah, this is kind of the Rose jealousy trip.
Yeah. It's just like, it was kind of annoying. I really like the monsters. I wish that they could have, that the romance could have been taken out completely, or Madame Pompadour just not used, and have another way of using the monsters, make them a little bit more unique so they stood out from the Cybermen a little bit more. But I don't know. I guess it wasn't that bad of an episode. It's actually kind of cool if you haven't seen 11th Hour.
If Douglas Adams wrote this, the Clockwork Androids would have had an analog and digital setting.
Yeah. But those are my thoughts.
Or an android and kill everybody setting. Anyway, Tim, your thoughts.
My thoughts. Well, I just watched rewatched this episode today. Out of context with the rest of the episodes. So
it's basically a filler anyway. So.
Yeah, but it was one episode that I did remember, but I didn't remember it being as sad as it was.
Oh yeah, the ending is very sad.
Yeah, it not just for what it shows, but for what it implies.
It's a 10th Doctor episode. It's required to have a sad ending.
Not really.
Yeah, and I sort of got got a mood whiplash from the previous episode we reviewed, the Doctor Dances and the Empty Child, in which this one had a really happy ending. And now, alright, the happiness is great, and now here's some sadness.
Happiness is great. Now here's a punch to the face.
Yeah.
Although I would like to point out something, that the fact that she died of essentially natural causes. She died of, by the way, of tuberculosis consumption.
Oh, that's something I thought of but didn't think to mention. How do you think? I mean, we don't have a lot of time to talk about this, but I'll try to make it quick. How do you think this would have gone if they had basically said, no, instead of dying of disease, they actually had succeeded and scavenged her brain and used it to run the ship?
That would have been fucking dark.
Yeah, it would have. That would have been, absolutely.
Like if the doctor realized, oh my god, this is a fixed point. She was always going to die this way. There's nothing I can do to stop it. And then maybe gets trapped on the ship, watching them capture her, and her brain get pulled out off screen.
Waters of Mars.
Except in Waters of Mars, the doctor can say something and does, whereas more something where he's trapped. He's trapped on the ship, forced to watch it happen, while he does everything he can to stop it and still can't.
It would have been kind of a really that was too depressing for English television, I think.
Yeah, that would be a little too bleak for a lot of places, to be honest.
And it would change established history. Madame Pompadour dies of tuberculosis in her early 40s. So having the things cut off her head in the 30s would have really kind of fucked with shit.
No, but like if they had ended up having it happen on the day she was supposed to die, have them kill her instead, and then it gets covered up by the government.
Oh, it would have been a way to add in Torchwood.
It would have been.
It would have.
Well, except for the fact that
but it would have been too early.
Yeah.
And they would have had
True.
She still would she have still been compatible if she were older?
It could have been rewritten to make the ship a few years older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, it was. Yeah, how old was she supposed to be when the ship was going to claim her?
36, I think.
So
37.
You realize the difference between seeing Louis then and Louis when she died was less than 10 years. It was closer to 5.
Still, there would have been some noticeable aging, and there wasn't.
They
just changed the wig.
If he didn't make such a deal about the fact that the doctor didn't age, his own lack of aging would not have drawn my attention too much. But because he does, I look at him and I'm like, neither have you. And then it gets bothersome.
I was just thinking, what if they did a brain scan of her and then fed her before she died, they scanned her brain to digitally preserve her personality and place it into the ship traveling to the stars.
Then that would be a lot like Silence in the Library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she'd also have beef stew floating around her. Only human stew. And that would be kind of sad and disgusting.
I'm now imagining a ship powered by a human brain showing up at Journey's End. I'm one of the companions. I'm here to help.
I was called.
All right, but that's too much. That's too much off-topicness for this point of the cast. So, has anyone not given their thoughts yet?
I don't think Tim has.
Oh, Tim was in the midst of his.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. It was a bit sad episode, but I thought it juggled the lightness, the joking parts very well. Well, when the doctor pretending to be drunk, and the coy way Mickey and Rose wander off after the doctor tells them not to, deliberately, and also when it got into the darker things, when the look on Mickey's face when he realizes what the roast is
rule number 1, I'm in charge. Rule number 2, don't wander off.
Bill, let him finish.
I am. I'm listening.
Yeah. So this I remember watching it for the first time, and I remember watching it just now. That doesn't make any sense. But, so, yeah, this was a pretty good episode. I liked it.
Okay. All right, so we go to scores. I will do them in the same order I did. Bill, you're up first.
I have no idea what to grade it, and I'm again part of it's just because, I mean, it's another one of those sort of like the Twin Dilemma was one, and I think another one where the production decisions kind of outweigh the episode decisions in terms of determining whether it became an ultimately memorable or forgettable or good or whatnot episode, to the point where watching this out of context, I enjoyed it so much, so much more than having watched it in order and completely forgetting about it. So I guess I'll give it a 4, but I'm not very adamant on that.
Okay. Matt.
I would also actually give it a 4. My only major problem with it is that it was trapped between two 5s.
Okay. Aaron?
I would give it a 3. It was good, but it wasn't, outstanding for me.
Tim?
I would give it a 4 out of 5, just taking 1 star off, because my personal preference is I don't really like sad endings.
Yeah, it's not one I prefer to go to either for is sad endings, but you need one of them every once in a while.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite movies have sad endings. Tokyo gets destroyed, Han Solo frozen in carbonite.
I don't watch Brazil that often.
Okay. Goes to me, and it just occurred to me I never gave my final thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, I like this episode. It's not on my top 10 list, but it is an episode I like. The fact that the episode ends on a downer, I actually like, because it's a very emotional downer. It was well written. Again, I think that the similarities between this and the 11th Hour means I'm actually going to have to downgrade the 11th Hour, but this is the original, so it gets full marks. The acting in this, for what there is, considering you really have the main TARDIS cast, Renette, and a few extras, came off very well. I didn't really see any acting faux pas. The characters were all likable, unlike Journey, where none of the extra characters were enjoyable.
Not in the least bit, that sucker, yeah.
Yeah, the failure of it is that it's sandwiched between two very good episodes.
Mm-hmm.
School Reunion is in my top 10, and if Rise of the Cybermen Age of Steel isn't, it's darn close to the top 10. So yeah, I think I have to give it a 4, almost a 4.5 out of 5.
Did Aaron give her a rating?
3.
Yep.
Think she did? Okay.
I'm the party pooper. I'm sorry.
You just thought it was mediocre, and you're entitled to your opinion.
Yeah. For the record, Aaron is not as fond of the Tennant era as some of the rest of us.
Well, it's not just Tennant in and of himself, I think. I think it was just that there was better writing at this point still.
So we have 4, 4, 3, and what else?
I think Randy said 4.5?
No, I said 4 as well. Almost
Okay,
a
you said
4.5.
4 as
Almost
well.
4.5. Okay, so
I knew you
about four.
said something. I knew you said something and a half, but it didn't sound negative enough to be a 3.5. So I was like,
No, I
wasn't
said
sure.
it was 4, almost a 4.5.
Okay. And what was Tim?
Mine was 4.
Tim was also okay. Tim was a 4. Oh, I thought you had given it a lower score.
So it's
so we
basically
have a
3.8.
3.8, which is I think what we gave last episode, maybe, or was it higher than that, or was that a 4.8?
That might have been a 4.8. I don't know.
Okay.
Can't remember off the top of
That's
my
right,
head.
because Randy was the negative Nancy on that one.
No, I wasn't.
I thought you.
love-
I thought
I
you said
love-
that you. I thought you said you couldn't give it a 5 because there were other episodes in the season that had a 5.
Yes,
You
I
had to
could not
finish
give it a 5 flat because of I had to give it a 4.5 because of the fact that I like Dalek in that same era a lot better. And again, this one gets a couple grades down because there's actually several episodes I like in this series a lot better. I like School Reunion a lot better. I like the episode with the werewolf, the CGI werewolf, far outstrips
Tooth and
anything
Claw.
else Tooth and Claw, yeah.
Tooth and Claw.
Far outstrips anything in that season.
Doomsday is a good one.
Doomsday is a good one. Not as fond of Army of Ghosts as I am Doomsday, but they're part of the same story arc.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's just the build-up.
I was just reading, did you know, and this is not to get too far off topic, but did you know that a deleted scene implies that Jake Simmons, one of the preachers from the Age of Steel story arc in Doomsday, implies that he and Mickey's counterpart Ricky were lovers, and then
Yeah,
Mickey
I knew that.
replies, I'm definitely not just like him.
Did not know that.
Yeah, I knew that.
That's strange. Okay.
Yeah, I saw that
Interesting.
deleted scene.
Well, then again, Rose is a dog, so he had to find someone else to latch onto.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, so that does it for our cast for Girl in the Fireplace. Next week we should be back on Friday.
Should be. I don't have anything.
Yes, I think we will be unblinkingly back on Friday.
Yep, for Blink. Thank you for the pun, Bill.
Yay, puns. I like puns.
So we should come back at our usual time. Usual commentary. That is June 20th.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Which means we will be finished with Moffat and the Tennant era by June, and July we should move on to
Moffat's
Moffat's
series.
Yeah, the Moffat and Matt Smith.
Cool.
So I think we're gonna have to skip 11th Hour since we've done it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Although I think I might want to make a comment there on a retrospect downgrade of 11th Hour.
Yeah, now that we thought about it, just wait a minute. Moffat?
Yeah, we've
And
done
then
we've done the opening and closing of Series 5 already, so those are the 2 that we'll be skipping.
Yeah. So we'll be doing his stuff in the middle, which is the more with the angels, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, joy.
Yeah, just think, Matt, you get to watch some of season 6 after that.
Ugh. You're gonna make me want to jump out the window, don't you? This is what this is all about, isn't it? On that bombshell, good night.
Good night,
Good night, everyone.
Nighty night.